back into the Lesotho mountains, and the Malutis were once again delivering the goods. Etienne Sabrant was running the Yamaha up into a number 4 spot at this stage for the high schools as the riders continued their onslaught in the mountains. The weather was starting to loom large as well, but for now, everyone was living on and living strong. For Rippers, he didn't get to unleash the big power underneath his right wrist, but he was still going to bring home a nice finish. For the high schoolers, Matty Wilson was doing a good job in the number 2 spot, and he had his good buddy, teammate, but now moved up to the OR3s, Dav Cocker, on his wheel. Insane Wayne Farmer was doing a great job, and Aki was on his wheel, racing out of Masters and Seniors category, respectively. For Jay Fenter, it was a little bit too tech for one of the flatland pinners, and he was going to battle to stay inside of a top 5 for the OR2s. For D. Gray, he'd done a great job as well. He was just outside of a top 5 at this stage in the OR2 category, running a top 6. Marco Cocci was inside of a top 5 for the Seniors gate with 1 lap to go, if his bike would make it. Out on course with the rest of the competitors completing lap number 1. The day was starting to get long and riders were starting to really feel it. Sore wrists on the side of JC Nienaber. He was another rider coming back from injury on the bounce. He would walk away with a finish come the end of play, but the story was this tight battle where Brad Cox, the leading small bike, had now caught up to Brett Swanepoel. This was a battle on the road for second place overall. Jazz Kutsia was confident that he was going to be able to walk away with a second place in the OR2s and a top 5 in the overalls. He just wanted to stay out of trouble, stay out the way, and bring home some nice points to build on his championship. Gareth Cole had found his groove halfway through lap number 1 and was starting to improve lap times, getting himself up to control the number 3 spot on the OR2 gate. This forest section and the loam was just absolute butter. King Kenny was outside the top 5 overall, but still running second place in the open OR1 class for the former champ. This is just getting himself nice and loose. When the season gets longer, Kenny will get faster. Second place is a great place to start though. On board once again with our cameraman, Scotty Haygate, doing some great work, giving us the footage in the lowlands and the forest to show how butter this track really was. Forest and loam is just perfect riding conditions. And again, very KZN. The brawler who likes things flat out and wide open. If he could put 7 gears on his bike, he would. But he was also improving pace. Stefan van Deventer looked like he may have had a crash and was slow on the pace. He still held on to 3rd, but that was going to get taken away from him as Dav Cocker found his groove and was about to catch up to the Yamaha man. Another Yamaha was on the pace. Dylan Cox was rocking and rolling on the RBS Yamaha 125 as leader in the high school gate. And it was an outright lead in the seniors for Wade Blau. No one anywhere near his back wheel. It was the same in the Masters, where Wayne Farmer wrapped up shop.
That was friggin' gnarly. For off-road, that's like a enduro. I think tomorrow we're going to be in for a super enduro. But no, and just kept a good pace. Made some stupid mistakes. Got lost once or twice, but got back on route. But you just you couldn't race it today. Just ride a good pace and you'll make it to the finish.
Old school pays the bills. Farmer walking away with another win. For Peltzer, he was in the groove as well, looking really tasty as far as the OR3s went. Tucky was also very comfortable, trying to chase down and remain inside that top 5 for the OR2s. Eric Merry was also just outside the top 5 as far as the OR3s go, and then Vaynard Delport on the newly signed CIT Husky squad was now getting himself up to challenge for a top 3 in the Pro OR1 gate. That was an amazing ride and only his first time out in Lesotho. This is our race leader then, heading into the end of his lap. Charon was just on fire. Remember, he'd taken the final win at the end of 2019. The second place battle had heated up as well, with Cox now getting himself up ahead, pulling around about 15 seconds out of Swanepoel. But that battle was nowhere near over. The top 4 looked like they were wrapped up and confirmed as Jared came into sight, managing that number 4 spot and running a 2 spot as far as the OR2s go. For Kenny, he looked very comfortable and controlled. Second place was a happy start to him. Scotty Haygate was ripping it as well. He'd now confirmed himself as a 2 spot in the OR3 category. And Scotty had definitely turned the page from motocross to cross country and off-road. The Marshall points were absolutely perfect as always, playing the game. And the Live Lesotho crew had to take a big bow for putting an amazing event together at this stage of the game. The clouds were still hanging, but for now the riders were staying relatively dry except for the little river crossings that was. Third place in the OR2s, Gareth Cole, a two-time champion of the category, lost his plate last year, and he's going to have to fight super hard to try and retain it. Stefan van Deventer had recovered from his issues at the halfway marker of the race, and he was still going to bring home a finish. The brawler, Ian Rawle, not a podium this time, but it would be a bag full of points to try and stay in the hunt before some of the terrain turned to his advantage. Taki, similar situation. Just needed to get out of the mountains and into the flatlands before he could bring home the results he knows he is capable of. Vanna Delport seemed to be just getting himself nice and loose as the day went on. Definitely a rider that worked on his off-season training. And then Dav Marais, one of the top Yamahas on the 450s, trying to chase down a top 5. For Hannes Simon, he was eyeing up one of his best ever national finishes, a multi-tasked rider. And definitely the format of today's race would have played into his hands. Some of the locals also making their way down towards the end of their first racing lap. As they finished though, Charon was about to complete his event. You could hear from the wind on the cameras there. The wind was pumping, the weather was arriving, but it was Charon Moore that arrived at the flag first to take his win.
Oh yes, it's unbelievable. It's a long time coming. So stoked. It feels so cool, and you know, this one's for everyone that's helped, that made it possible for me to ride today. So stoked.
So cracking ride for Charon Moore as the rest of the riders made their way towards the end of lap number 1. That was going to be their day because they'd gone a lap down, but the dice for second was what we were watching. Swanepoel had made the pass on Cox, and he was going to have to really battle. It had been this close for about 10 Ks to go before the end of the lap, and Swanepoel was not going to give it up. This was for second place overall and for the lead. Whoever got the power down first was going to bring it all the way to the line. Brett Swanepoel confirms that he is back at full race pace and full fitness. He took the flag to get the check-ins at second place. Cox gets third, and that's the win in OR2s and OR3s.
Brad and I pretty much raced the whole race together, dancing, and on the last lap I thought, flip, I'm not sure if I really want to race until the end because I want to try and save a bit of energy for tomorrow. And then I just try to keep him in the distance, and he'd open the gap and I'd have to work really hard to try and close it. And then near the end, he turned a bit late, and I managed to just slip in front of him, and then we managed to just dice it out till the end.
And the 2019 reigning small bike champ tells his story too.
Yeah, I got qualified second, and then Brett was just behind me, and we pretty much rode together the whole day. We just rode together, and then I managed to pull about 15 seconds on him on this last lap, and then Brett closed me down, and then I just made a mistake just before the last mountain, and he got me, and then we were banging bars on this MX test now to the end. But no, happy. Class win, that's obviously the main goal, and top 3 overall, and small bike's always nice.
So Al Lesotho, here's confirmation of the results. Charon Moore tops the charts ahead of Kenny Gilbert. Delport, Nienaber and De Lange made the top 5, and then Marais, Purden and Ripper. They'll score points all the way down to the magical number 8. Checking out the ultra-competitive OR2s, Brett Swanepoel confirms his status as top dog. Jazz Kutsia, the reigning champ, in the number 2 spot ahead of Cole. The brawler, Bodjodges, Darren Gray, the top Yamaha smoker, in the number 6 spot ahead of J-Dog Fenter and De Grief. In the OR3 class, great riding out of Brad Cox and a strong overall as well. Scotty Haygate, epic ride into the 2 spot ahead of Cocker, Van Deventer, Peltzer, Mary, Fuljoen and Hayden Cole. A low finish for a guy that should be running inside the top 3s. For the seniors class, Wade Blau came out swinging. No Bolly, but it's the Roost KTM this time on top as Blau goes ahead of Simon, Kennedy and Bergman, with Wayne Farmer taking the Masters win ahead of Poole, Burning and Big Harry Krobler. Into the high schools then, where we will crown a new champion in 2020. It was Dylan Cox on the RBS smoking Yamaha ahead of Wilson, McKenzie and Zeebrand. And Kobus Bester walked away with the junior win ahead of Van der Merwe, Zeebrand and Clark. So that's round 1 wrapped up in a bow. The next round moves down to KZN on the 18th of April. We'll see you guys down there. all of this South African national cross-country bike